So what impact is forbearance going to have on the real estate market in 2021? I'm here working from home today. It's a snow day, so I'll do my best to make it through the noise. It's not too bad right now, fortunately. In 2020, 6.48 million households entered into forbearance on their mortgage. The big question is whether or not this is going to lead to some sort of a housing or economic crisis in 2021 or sometime later. If you ask your Facebook friends, I'm sure you'll hear one or two experts tell you, there's no question, the whole world is falling apart, right, as usual. However, if you look at the data from the real experts, you'll see some interesting numbers. I'll forewarn you right now, I'm going to talk about a lot of numbers in this video. If you're a visual person, then I definitely recommend you check out the article that we posted on our blog last week at myhomereality.com. Going over some of these same numbers and citing some sources so you know that I'm not making these numbers up. Here's what I can tell you though. On average, every year in the U.S., between 275,000 and 315,000 mortgages go into foreclosure. So yes, if 6.48 million households were on that brink, that would be a huge, devastating impact. However, of the 6.48 million households, almost 40% of them have left the forbearance program. They're current on their payments. Most of these people never even actually missed a payment. They were only in forbearance because their lender offered it to them as a precaution and they took it. Another 9% of that 6.48 million actually paid off their mortgage while they were in forbearance. 7% negotiated a repayment plan and now they're out of forbearance. So that makes up about 55% of those originally in forbearance who are no longer in any sort of program. That's a big number. So what about the other 45%? That's almost 2.75 million people who are still in forbearance. First of all, some of those people still fall into the category of haven't missed a payment. So that's good news. And yet experts predict, unfortunately, that some of these 2.75 million, about 10% will enter foreclosure. Again, we want to look at how this affects the housing market and the economy. 10% of 2.75 million is 275,000, which if you remember is actually on the low end of the yearly average of mortgages entering foreclosure in the pre-COVID years. So also keep in mind the first 3 quarters of 2020, there were only 114,000 mortgages that went into foreclosure. So 275 doesn't even make up the difference in normal year numbers of foreclosures from last year. So obviously forbearance saves some of those households who were likely already facing some sort of foreclosure crisis. Of course, we know delaying the process and pushing things like that down the line doesn't often, solve our problems, right? So there must be something else to it. I'll leave you with these 2 points. One, with home values rising the way that they have in 2020 and in the 4 to 5 years, prior to that, Americans have more equity in their homes than ever. Only 63% of American households even have a mortgage to begin with. And that out of that number, only 2% of those households are in some sort of negative equity position. So most people who find themselves in this position have options to use or cash in that equity that they have in their house to come up with a better alternative plan than a foreclosure. The last point that I'll leave you with, we all know the frustrations in our industry with the lack of homes that are actively available for sale out there right now. Again, every year you have 275 to 300,000 homes in this country going in foreclosure, typically being sold by the banks. Last year you only had 114,000. That accounts for some small portion of the low inventory. If 275,000 foreclosed homes hit the market today, the number of qualified pre-approved buyers right now would just gobble that right up. While it's unfortunate that anyone would, wake up and find themselves in that position where they're facing something like a foreclosure, and there's a lot of people, struggling who've lost jobs and lost income, lost lives, among other things. It's not everyone though. Don't believe the negative hype. Don't listen to your 27-year-old brother-in-law who plays Call of Duty and thinks he's an economist on the side. If you have questions about the real estate market, buying, selling, investing, refinancing, or somehow otherwise saving yourself from a potentially bad situation, please talk to a real estate professional. My team and I, we're happy to help. We don't do it all, obviously, but we have access to the information and the people and resources to give you to allow you to make the best possible decision for you and your family, your household. So that's it. Happy Monday, everybody. TGIM.